Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about topic versus branch-based dialogue in RPGs. This is a question that came from Simon Dahl 3196, who asked, what are the key differences between a topic-based dialogue system and a branching kind of system, especially if the goal is depth with game state conditions and speech attributes or something along those lines? This is a good question, not only because it's a good question, it's something I've never talked about, but also I've never even thought about talking about this before. And I should start by saying I've only done a topic-based dialogue system one time, and that was in Fallout, and it was hybridized with a branching system. So if you played the first Fallout, you know that there was a branch. When you clicked on NPC, up popped a dialogue, a branching dialogue, but over to the side was tell me about or ask about. There was a little box, and you could type in whatever topic you wanted. So it was kind of topic based, but we didn't display the topics to you. As you learn things in the game, you could ask NPCs about it. You could ask them about Brahmin. You could ask them about mutants. You could ask them about ghouls. So it was one of these things that as the player went along, they could just bring up different topics to NPCs to see if any one of them said something new or different, and it led to anything. And this was our way of trying to kind of hide everything from the player, and not obviously displaying it, but you had to guess a keyword to try to open up something. We did not continue with that. However, I played a lot of the earlier Ultima games and the early Elder Scrolls games, and they did a pure topic system, which means, well, let me define topic and branch-based. So the topic systems are pretty self-explanatory, I think. When you click on the NPC, up pops a list of topics that you can click on to get a response to. When you click on it, the NPC then either says something or some lore pops up, or it might be a command like barter or repair, and they offer you that service immediately. That list that appears with the NPC changes over time as you play the game. Compare that to branch-based dialogue, which is what I think more of you are familiar with, which is it's sort of conversational. You click on the NPC, and there's an entry point. He or she will say something to you based on stuff, and we'll get to that. And then what you can respond to what they say can also change depending on a lot of things. So I think that latter one is much more commonly used in modern RPGs, especially with VO. But let me just say that both methods have the ability to add things to either the topic list or the branches that the player can select based on game events. Maybe something strange happened in the world and now NPCs are talking about it, versus the player completing quests. You've done something for this person and they're responding to you, or they've heard about you doing some big quest and they're all responding to it when you click on them. It can be story acts. When you finish a major act in the game and it moves on to the next story act, that can change topics available and how NPCs open up their branching dialogue. Specific player choices. If you decide to kill someone, or you decide to try to steal something or sell stolen goods, these are all things that may show up in either topic or branching dialogue. And of course, player stats factor into it. Things like their attributes, their skills, their perks. So that can happen with both of these. And how they do it is a little different. New topics appear for the topic-based one, and new entry points into the NPC dialogue. So the first thing they say when you click on them. And then how the player can respond can change in the branch-based ones. So what I did was I thought of a few advantages of the topic one and a few advantages of the branch-based one, so we can kind of weigh those two things together. The advantage of a topic-based system, which I'll start with, is it is extraordinarily easy to add new topics based on any of the things I mentioned. Events happened, players make choices, players finish quests, new story acts are entered. It's trivial because you just add it to the list. And compare this to branch-based, which new events in the game may require a new NPC dialogue entry point. In other words, when you click on them, they're like, oh my god, you killed a dragon, versus, oh no, the villain Bart's in town, versus, oh wow, you saved the town from that goblin invasion. Everything's much nicer around here, and I'm going to give you a discount. Those are all different dialogue entry points, and it becomes really complicated if more than one of those happens at once. If you fend off the goblin invasion and Bart's in town, and you just killed a dragon, what is the NPC's entry point supposed to be? So branch-based can get really complex really quickly. Also, usually branch-based dialogues have a limit in how many player responses you can have, often because of the UI, but sometimes just for sanity's sake. Even if the UI lets you scroll through all the player responses, there's usually a limit. It's commonly 4 or 5. I've seen a few that go up to like 8 or 10, but usually there is a limit. Topics don't need that. Here's the list of topics, and it may go across in a grid, it may scroll, but since they're usually a single word, you can just jump right to the topic you want. So it's very easy to add new ones. It's also, because of that, it's simple for players to use because they can jump right away to the thing they want. A very common thing in topic-based dialogues is that the top of the list are either the common things players want to do or things they haven't asked about yet. So the common things might be like, I want to barter with you, or I need to repair some things, or hey, can you craft something? Or identify, or you're a wizard, can you identify something for me, or recharge my wand? Those would be at the top of the list because those are frequently what you want to do. You don't have to dive through several dialogue layers in a branching dialogue to get to them. And then similarly, unused topics. If you've never asked about the evil tower, or the necromancer, or the old cemetery, if you've never asked about those things before, they can be at the top of the list. And once you click on that topic and it's given you the lore response, it can be de-highlighted and moved to the bottom of the list. So it makes it easy for you to know what you've already talked to an NPC about. Now let's compare this to the advantages of branched, because I think there's a lot of advantages to them. The first off one is it just feels natural, especially modern RPGs where you're looking at a person standing in front of you. They have VO, their lips sync, they have expressions. It just feels natural to try to replicate dialogue, which is a branching conversational dialogue. It is the first most reasonable, or I should say obvious, thing to do to have a dialogue with an NPC. But a secondary thing, which is going to be what a lot of your narrative designers will like, is it's way easier to give the personality of the NPC, because the way they talk and the way they respond to branches the player chooses can really come across. You can get that personality across. Is this person secretive? Is this person sarcastic? Is this person annoying? Is this person in charge? It's easy to get that across when you have a branching dialogue because conversation flows like it flows in real life. I think a third advantage is I do think it's easier to recognize skill or perk or attribute use in branch dialogue. It's easy to see when a response popped up. It's usually labeled. Now you could label the topic ones too, but topic ones are usually kept really short so you can keep a lot of topics on there, and it is going to get cluttered. Because you usually have a limited number of responses in branched, it's easy to put a little symbol or word next to a response saying, you're getting this because you took this perk. You're getting this because you're lucky. You're getting this because your lying skill is really high. Or you're getting this because you just finished this quest. It's easy to demonstrate that and to let players know I'm getting this response now because of this change. But it's also cool because not only can you show that the response is there because of one of those events, how the NPC responds to it you can show. So if you change what the NPC's response is to a line that's an intimidation line versus a line that's like a persuasion line, this can not only show the player how cool these skills are and how different they can be used, but again it shows the NPC. If it's a really powerful NPC, he may resist being intimidated by you. but he could be persuaded or bribed or something like that. And this is, again, something that I think branching excels at in just a natural way. You can do it in topic, but I think it's harder, and I think it feels more forced. Now, I obviously have a preference between these two, given that I've only done topic once and it was hybridized with branch, and everything else I did was branched. But I am curious if you guys have a preference. Do you have a preference of which one you like to play? And do you have a preference, if you're developing, of which one you want to develop? My preference is branched. What's yours? And also Simon Dahl, that was a really good question.